Folks, welcome into sportsbookreview.com. It's time to talk NFL action in May. Week 1 lines are out. Tebow mania down in Jacksonville. Fantastic way to close out the week right here at sportsbookreview.com. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. And we are the NFL team right here at Sportsbook Review. Kyle, nice to always end the week with a little bit of NFL talk.
I'll tell you what, it's nice to talk some football today. I mean, baseball card is great today. But if you're watching the PGA, I mean, just bogey after bogey after bogey after bogey. It's windy. It's tough. So let's talk football. I miss football, and I never miss a good opportunity to make fun of Tim Tebow. So this is going to be a lot of fun for me.
It is great. And each week we always like to come on here and keep you updated on the hot topics that are going on currently inside the NFL. And as we like to say, before you know it, Kyle, we are going to be kicking it off on a Thursday night football game and ready to rock and roll for the 2021 season. But as said, finally we get to see some team totals that came out. We talk draft, we talk free agency, but the lines are out from week 1. And I do want to spend some time and have a little bit of fun with these. And as you know, some instances, do we know the starting quarterback? Maybe not, but for the most part we do. Or do we know the team that's actually going to show up on the field? Green Bay Packers are going to have your starting quarterback. Houston Texans are going to have your starting quarterback. Technically, no, but we get a good feel on it. But how about that Thursday night football game that starts right off? Dallas and Tampa Bay, 6.5 as a favorite towards Tampa Bay, opening up at home. We're going to talk, as you see on the sidebar here, NFL angles to play week 1 and what makes sense. And also a little bit farther down, live wagering on the NFL. So a couple concepts that we're going to work in here. But starting with the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as we know last year, Dak Prescott coming back. First, week 1, most teams at their healthiest point here. I don't know if we have a Super Bowl hangover, so to speak, for Tampa Bay. Every single player is coming back, just waiting on Antonio Brown to clear his physical, sign his contract with his knee injury, and off and running. Home field advantage as well. The trophy's coming out. 75 to 80,000 people are going to be in Raymond James. Is this a game that you step in front of and say, boy, I really like the underdog here?
So I will say this. I've actually been thinking about this game probably more than every other game on the slate because it's the first game, and I'm always pissed off that why is Dallas in a primetime game to start the year? They always stink, and it's of course we got to watch Dallas. We have to watch Dallas on primetime every time. Yeah. And so I'm thinking about this, like the recipe for beating Tampa Bay is attacking that blitzing defense, right? And those corners who I know they showed up in the postseason, but really it's a beatable secondary, and they're going to be forced to play a ton of man-to-man because we know what Tampa Bay likes to do. Todd Bowles loves to blitz. And when you look at the Cowboys, they have 3 wideouts who can absolutely win in man-to-man coverage, including Amari Cooper, who's one of the best, if you look at the numbers, of all time in terms of yards of separation from a man-to-man defender. So you're like, oh, God, that kind of speaks to the Cowboys. But you're like, wait, Tampa Bay at home, that crowd is going to go absolutely bananas. This is probably, I mean, I know they won the Super Bowl back in the early 2000s with that defense, but this has got to be probably the most excited a Tampa Bay crowd, because they weren't there last year, is going to be for a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. Defending Super Bowl champs, the Cowboys at home, Tom Brady, the whole team is back. Cowboys, that offensive line for the Cowboys, not the same. That defense for Dallas, very, very bad. I know they drafted some young guys, but how much is that going to impact it this year? So you'd have to lean Tampa Bay by the touchdown at home. I think you start getting concerned if this line moves to 7.5 or 8. But if it's sitting under a touchdown right now, you'd have to lean that way, wouldn't you?
Now, also, the concept that you're bringing up is now back into play this year in the NFL. And it's not like, hey, team's going off bye weeks or this team's healthy. There are going to be fans back in the stands this year. Me being a team total backer last year, Kyle, had a fantastic season. But you know what that was buoyed by? I could take the road team with impunity going on the road. There was nobody yelling and screaming at them. There was no intimidating environment, which allowed each offense to hear their snap counts, not get flustered, and play good football. Now you're going to step back into the lion's den, so to speak. So the game I'm actually going to bring up here, there's 2 of them, Kyle. And the reason I'm bringing these 2 up is because the uncertainties, or at least what we think are some uncertainties at quarterback. Let's say the quarterbacks stay the same here. Case in point, I'm looking at Jacksonville and Houston.
Yeah.
Jacksonville is a road favorite at 2.5 off an abysmal football season. Yeah, they got Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, they got Travis Etienne. They were still brutal. Now, if you're telling me that Deshaun Watson is still going to be the quarterback for Houston and a rabid football city and state in Texas where they're going to have a stadium. It's going to be summertime still, technically, when the game kicks off. They'll probably have the roof closed with 80,000 people screaming. Jacksonville with a rookie quarterback is winning this game on the road?
It's the craziest thing. And the other thing that stood out for me, assuming Deshaun Watson would be and look, I don't think that's going to happen. I think you have a much better chance of Aaron Rodgers being the Packers quarterback week one than you do of Deshaun Watson. Just that stuff's pretty murky in this day and age. I'm not sure he's getting away with that. But what about that total of 45.5? That's almost like Christmas for us now. We just don't see totals like that. We're talking about two defenses that are really, really bad. Probably two of the 5 worst defenses in the NFL are these two teams. So if Deshaun Watson is indeed the starter week one and I'm just wrong, 45.5 is way too low. These defenses can't stop anything or anybody. And even though it's a rookie quarterback making his first start on the road, and of course, rookie head coach Urban Meyer and standout tight end Tim Tebow, I don't know. 45.5 seem low. I'm like, look, if that's Deshaun Watson, I'm in. If it's David Mills, maybe not so much. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, it's really weird to see a 1-15 team favored on the road week one. That's just bizarre, right?
Look, I know we're busting stones on the Texans, and I don't like the direction of their franchise, but if you're giving me Deshaun Watson still there at home in front of that crowd, Jacksonville's going to step in and get an outright victory on the road in that environment. I just don't see it at this point here, which again brings me to the second team that we'll talk about, the Green Bay Packers, going on the road to New Orleans, sitting at a -2.5 as a favorite for New Orleans. And again, you're talking about going down to the Dome where that place is going to be rocking, but still, it's Aaron Rodgers versus maybe Jameis Winston, maybe Taysom Hill. That team is going to be healthy, ready to go. You're telling me that New Orleans is going to win this game outright again? Obviously, getting to -2.5 it just seems like a Green Bay game to me, unless the fans go crazy. But we're also saying, well, why would you like it different in an environment where Houston's going to be loud? I think Aaron Rodgers played a little bit of football with loud crowds where Trevor Lawrence in the NFL hasn't really suited up yet. So that's the way I'm going looking at that game between Green Bay and New Orleans. It's an odd number. And also, if Aaron Rodgers does play and you know that, hey, maybe Jameis Winston is coming out, because forget about the game itself. Winston, Fitzpatrick, fantastic for overs both ways. Pick sixes, touchdowns the other way. I look at that 50.5 as a nice number as well.
Yeah, I agree. And look, the Saints do have one of the better defenses, but they are going to be different. They lost their number 1 pass rusher last year. I think actually they lost their top 2 sack total players. I'd have to double check that, but this is interesting. So this is telling me that a lot of the books don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback, because there's no way. And I know his record's exponentially better at home. There's no doubt about it. Aaron Rodgers is like, I think it's, don't quote me exactly, but it's somewhere in the ballpark of like 100 wins, 18 losses at home, and then he's pretty much 50-50 on the road. But I don't, it just seems like the books are, and I don't see how Aaron Rodgers is getting traded unless he sits out the year and says, I don't care about this salary, I don't care about this season. Unless you trade me, I'm going full Carson Palmer and I'm sitting out. I just don't. What are they going to trade him for at this point? You waited for the draft to pass by, so all of that capital is gone. It's going to have to be a mega, mega offer. And by all accounts, the Packers have zero desire to trade Aaron Rodgers. So you got to think he's going to be the quarterback week one. So I look at this, and you're right. Aaron Rodgers versus Jameis Winston. Let's not forget the Packers do struggle a little bit against the run, and they didn't do much to address that. Very, very good against the pass. So you're not going to go out there and throw the ball all over Green Bay, and you're Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, like a 50-50 split. It feels like the Saints are going to be a 2-quarterback team. And you know the old saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. This was one of the things we're going to talk about, angles, not angels, week one. And what surprised us here, I was surprised the Packers were underdogs here. I expect Rodgers to be there, and I would suspect by week one, assuming Rodgers is there, that number will flip, and you'll see the Packers as road favorites.
Yeah, getting out fast at home also. We're taking a look at the Chicago Bears. Here's another interesting one. The reason why I want to bring this game up, because quarterback situation a little bit unsettled, so you try to factor on what works best. If you are the Chicago Bears, and this the organization is a horrible one, from ownership, who I don't even think doesn't know they own a football team, a soccer team, a baseball team, whatever it would be, from the front office to the head coach to the way they run the organization. They're going to be an underdog of 7 points here on the road to the Rams game one. Now, we're factoring in that a little bit of odd offseason. Players don't want to, get into camp, but you're counting on Matthew Stafford still being a sharp NFL quarterback, going to an offensive wizard with McVay, and that's going to work out well. Not really talking about the Rams side of things. I'm talking about the Chicago Bears side of things here. If we show up, if you want to cover the 7, I know this sounds odd, Andy Dalton is going to be your guy in this game. Well, no. I don't understand the Bears' overall philosophy. If you think you drafted your franchise guy, your record does not matter in 2021. The only thing that matters is Justin Fields plays 17 weeks and learns on the job to see if he's an NFL quarterback. So how the Bears work in their mind, I don't think they're in the right concept. I think they start Andy Dalton week 1 in this game. Maybe they get the cover because they're not going to get a deer in the headlights, but better for the Chicago Bears to start Fields to see what he has. It's an interesting number at 7. The over-under low at 44.5. If Dalton starts, I like the over. If Fields starts, I kind of like the under in that situation.
See, I'm totally reversed. And normally I would be with you. But what's the important factor in this game, especially if you're starting Andy Dalton? It's in prime time. It's in prime time. It's Monday Night Football. And you know who the worst primetime quarterback of all time is? It is Mr. Andy Red Water Pistol Dalton. He absolutely stinks in prime time, and now he's going against possibly the league's best, one of the league's top at least 3 defenses this year. There is if that number was 24.5 and it's Andy Dalton starting, I swear to God, I'm taking the Rams, because Andy Dalton is so bad and anemic and impotent. Add in any word you want to add there in a negative connotation, and it applies to Andy Dalton in primetime football. So normally I would be like, yeah, you're right. Rookie quarterback, that defense, good luck. But I'm telling you, the crap my dog takes that morning will have better passing numbers than Andy Dalton would have if he starts against that Rams team on Monday Night Football. So if I'm a Rams backer, I am praying to the NFL betting gods for Andy Dalton. He is awful in primetime. But you're right. If Andy Dalton starts one game for this year, it's a big loss for the Bears. And their record shouldn't matter, but it does. And why is that? Because Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are selfish, and they want to keep their jobs. I mean, not saying people wanting to keep their jobs are selfish, but they are especially selfish the way they've ran this team. It's very, very interesting. But if Andy Dalton starts, there's no number high enough for me.
Yeah, Jay Smith here in the chat box, obviously a Texans fan. He's got that same feeling here because that's what happened when Bill O'Brien got the power. I don't give a damn about this franchise. I'm going to buy as long as I can here, trade all my picks so I can hang on for a couple more years and make these millions of dollars, not looking out for the greater good of the franchise. But that is a lot to say about the ownership of the organization, which, again, is a 95-year-old grandmother. So you get what you get in Chicago, and that's what you're getting now, a team that should not be run. And I always joke because I love teams that have rabid fan bases that don't deserve what they get. Chicago Bears fans for the longest time, the Cleveland Browns fans, the Buffalo backers. They love their team so much, and they're completely inept from an upper-level position. Chicago is in a monstrous city, and the fact that they are run cheaply and poorly is astounding. And when I say that, the best bet for the Bears this year is for the Bears by week 7 or 8 to not have a single victory, so that entire organization blows out the front office and their head coach. Because to me, I actually like the prospects of Justin Fields over his career. I just don't like the prospect of Justin Fields in Chicago with the current regime. We talked about it on draft night. Everybody who was going to have a chance to go to San Francisco is going to be a winner. If San Francisco said we trade up to number 3 to get Justin Fields, I'd be like, yo, it's really going to work out because that organization has a guy that gets quarterbacks, and no matter who they take, they are going to be a star. So when Justin Fields went to Chicago and everybody cheered, I said, This is the worst case scenario probably for Justin
Yes.
Fields to actually go to, which sounds terrible, but the best case for Justin Fields is maybe he plays poorly the first 5 to 6 weeks and Nagy is blown out of there and you can get a fresh start with an offensive mind. A guy like Brian Daboll, who's sitting in Buffalo, who waited a year, should be licking his chops to name his GM and go coach Justin Fields in Chicago next year once they have a bad season. That's the way I'm looking at it. But let's hit a couple quick games before we get to some topics here as well. Maybe the most interesting game on the card to me, I'm fascinated by this, Seattle and Indianapolis.
Me too.
-2, Indy at home, Seattle not at home. Look, Carson Wentz didn't play well last year. He is going to feel like Candyland with Frank Reich calling the plays, a dominant offensive line, legitimate wide receivers, and a running game. Indy by a touchdown week 1 for me, Kyle.
Well, I hope you're right. Let me just say I hope you're right. But this was one of the spots where I was like, that's weird. We're taking Carson Wentz. Now, look, you and I have both been on record. We like the move by the Colts. And I do think Carson Wentz is going to look good for the Colts. I don't think it's going to be a huge regression from Phillip Rivers. I really don't. But it is interesting to see week 1 to see Carson Wentz favored over Russell Wilson. That's a little bit strange for me. I was a little surprised by that. I don't think you're crazy for jumping on the Seahawks plus 2.5 early. I'm like, I mean, again, if Carson Wentz does wet the bed and does underperform, it's Wentz versus Russell Wilson. You give me that, if you give me that 17 times last year, I would have taken Russell Wilson every single time. Now, of course, the situation's different, and the Colts are a much better run organization, quite frankly, than the Eagles are, and there's certainly more weapons, certainly a good defense, good-ish defense. I thought they kind of regressed the last 8 games of the year last year, but I did think it was interesting. This was one that stood out like, wow, Seahawks underdogs, Russell Wilson an underdog against Carson Wentz. Very, very, very interesting to me. It's going to be interesting to see what we think week 1 after we see what Wentz looks like a little bit in the preseason, stuff like that. But I don't know. Thought it was weird. I didn't. And if you would have showed me this before the lines came out, I'd have said, Seahawks are probably favored by 3 in this one. So I thought it was a little bit backwards than what I expected. Kind of interesting.
No, it is. It's great because I think the NFL really did us a solid here on week 1. There's a lot of fodder to pick off over the next, 6 to 8 weeks while they gear up for training camps and stuff like that. So some really good NFL content right out of the gate. It's fun to talk some of those week 1 lines, which we'll keep abreast of those situations each and every time as they come up here. But let's also take a look at week 1 and some angles to play. And the reason it's not so much, this coach is really good opening day, this coach is really bad opening day. I'm not talking about that nonsense because every year in the NFL, teams change, coaching staffs change, ownership change, home field conditions change. You're not going to have fans back in the stands. That's the first one I'm looking at here, Kyle, is the home field advantage reintroduced into the NFL and also coupled with, are you starting a young quarterback? It's why I started directly right off there. Houston is not a great team by any means, but when you throw 70,000 screaming fans at a rookie quarterback in his first road start in the NFL, you don't really care how good you are. How many times have those quarterbacks fared extremely well in that type of environment? Maybe a little bit different if Jacksonville opened at home against Houston. I might buy into that -2.5 because that'll be a rabid fan base. They'll be excited, a new offensive regime, new looking scheme on offense for the Jaguars. But those type of angles I love to look at. If it's a new coaching staff, it's a double-edged sword because you're going to get maybe a younger staff like in Philadelphia, but you don't really know what they're going to call from the opposite side because there's no real book on what they do. You get a Bill Belichick defense, you pretty much know what Bill Belichick's done. Why? You can go back on 20 years of film and say, yeah, this is Bill Belichick's defense. This is the type of scheme he runs. So those are some of the angles I look at, but it's going to be fascinating, Kyle, the reintroduction of the rabid fan base back into NFL action.
Oh, I can't wait for it, right? And if you're a UFC fan, you've been watching UFC lately. It was really, after a year of just hearing these quiet stadiums and sort of the TV implemented noise, it was different. It was almost jarring to hear the fans in the background just watching it on TV. So I think it's going to be an adjustment period. You're absolutely right. And another thing I look at too is, are there any teams, especially week 1, who are maybe a little undervalued or numbers undervalued because they were just beset by injuries last year? I jumped right to the 49ers line. Not really. I think they get it. They know Detroit's going to stink. But one that kind of stood out, just, hey, the Cincinnati Bengals, they were bad last year, but they're going to have Joe Burrow back. They just drafted a young all-world wide receiver, and then they're playing the Vikings, so we're talking about 2 really bad defenses here. The total's at 48. I'm like, well, hey, maybe we were undervaluing the Bengals a little bit because of their numbers last year, forgetting that Joe Burrow, who was playing really, really well and throwing the ball all over the place, wasn't there. So I'm looking for totals and teams that are maybe undervalued because of injuries last year, stuff like that. And I'm with you. The little 3-point bump to the home team is back, right? It's back in the NFL, and that's usually the standard, right? About 3 points you give the home team. It's back.
No, it's exactly back. And it's going to be fun to watch, but also something to try to recalibrate, because I just ran unhinged saying, hey, you're going to play at New Orleans. And now instead of saying, oh, the crowd, you don't want anybody here, I was like, great. Nobody's in the stands, perfect weather conditions, fast turf. Where do I sign up? Let's get this over. So it'll be interesting to see the reintroduction, which may lead back to playing sides for me, which I didn't play, I don't think, a single side last year on the plays that I gave out, because I didn't see the advantage comes in the totals. Now you're getting back on a home team full throw crowd. Should be a lot of fun to keep an eye on. But we'll certainly go over as the summer and the spring progresses on some of the angles that we like to look at, particularly week one. New coaching staff comes in, new quarterback comes in. How much of an effort do you think that's going to be once that gets into play? So we'll see how that plays out. But here's one of the interesting topics, which people are losing their mind on. And I'm seeing people on Twitter say, oh, no, national media talking about Tim Tebow, and I see ESPN every day get angry that they're talking about Tim Tebow, and I sit back here and laugh. I say, the NFL is a show. The NFL is a ratings bonanza. Everybody's looking to advertise. That's why games are on TV, because after 2 plays, they cut the commercial. Those commercials are paying millions and millions of dollars because you are watching it. But here's the key word, Kyle. You're paying millions of dollars to get your commercial on there. The Jaguars are sitting back down in Jacksonville, Shad Khan and the boys, Urban Meyer going, this is all free press, man. We don't have to pay a dime, and we're leading SportsCenter because we hired or signed a tight end who's 35 years old, who won't make the team, but we lead everywhere. Now you see on NFL.com, top jersey sales, top this, top that. It's all Jacksonville Jaguars. They are laughing all the way to the bank. It has nothing to do with Tim Tebow coming in and changing the culture of the Jaguars locker room. It's the bottom line, and nobody sees it from the major networks. Oh, we have to talk about Tim Tebow again. Yes, you do. Why? Because you keep bringing it up, because this is what the people say. Oh, Tim Tebow, he's never. It's not the point if he's going to make the team. It's the point that Shad Khan is making millions by putting Tim Tebow, and he might never make it through the summer.
Yeah, well, he will. He's going to make the team. Of course he's going to make the team. It's a
Do you think? There's no way.
Yeah, he's going to make the team. Of course they will. Of course he's going to make the team. And look, so the Jaguars are winners here for a number of reasons, and the losers are common sense, respect, and dignity of the American public, because the fact that all Tim Tebow products are top 5 in NFL.com sales right now is exactly why I repeatedly say on this show, we are a silly people. This is why China is passing us. This is why we are weak. This is why we are dumb. What the hell are you talking about? And this whole Tim Tebow is going to fix. Tim Tebow was the guy at the bar saving Aaron Hernandez's ass when he's shooting the ears off of people with a .22 pistol inside of a bar. Tim Tebow was getting this whole idea that Tim Tebow was a virgin. Bull crap. That dude was partying it up. He was covering for Aaron Hernandez. And now you come into Jacksonville. This is great for Jacksonville. First of all, how much less pressure is on Trevor Lawrence? When all the media is there, they don't give a damn if Trevor Lawrence hit the deep route for a touchdown to DJ Chark in practice. They want to know what book club Tim Tebow is a part of, or what prayer chain he's tweeting out this week. All that stupid crap that makes us a weak and silly nation. It's a loss for human dignity, but a win for the Jaguars. Tim Tebow, when is he going to finally go away? But I guarantee you he's on that roster week 1. He will be on that roster because he's going to make him money. He's going to sell that place out because Tim Tebow might catch a pass from Trevor Lawrence. I'm telling you right now, he's going to be on that team. And of course, just like they said in the chat box, leave it to Florida. It's a crazy place where you get your dogs eaten walking them by alligators. People die from alligators walking their dogs because they're trying to save their dog from an alligator. Florida's crazy. Tim Tebow, the whole thing. It's weird as hell, but a win for the Jaguars.
But you know what the even better thing is when you talk about Tim Tebow, though? And look, I never played professional sports, so I'm not that inside the locker room guy. But the fact I watch certain networks, and there are people actually saying this, Kyle, Jacksonville better watch out because Tim Tebow might ruin the culture of the locker room. I want to call ESPN, as I do. Akbar's usually watching. I want to say, ESPN, do you understand Jacksonville was the worst team in the NFL? So if Tim Tebow ruins the culture of the locker room, does that mean they win no games instead of one? Do you actually – these are grown men, and the first thing you realize once you get to the NFL is they will tell you it is a business. I don't give a damn about this man, this man, this man. It's just about this man right here. So if I'm a tight end on Jacksonville and they go, hey, guys, they brought Tim Tebow in, I go – looks like I made the team this year. Like, I don't understand the notion that if you bring Tebow in, first of all, he's not going to fix the locker room. He's not going to destroy the locker room. They're not even going to care about the guy one bit. But we're making this whole notion like, Urban Meyer, he just lost the locker room. What locker room, Kyle?
Yeah, exactly. And seriously, how would he hurt it? He's just going to take all the attention and all of the pressure off of everyone else because everyone, you know what they're going to be up Tim Tebow's ass. That plain and simple. And I mean, let's talk about the tight ends on Jacksonville. I think it's Tyler Eifert, who's healthy about 1 quarter a year. James O'Shaughnessy. I mean, that's the name of a drink in Ireland, not a damn football tight end. I'm telling you, it is not going to shock me if Tim Tebow makes the team and plays 35% of the snaps this year. Jacksonville doesn't have anyone there. He's going to. He's going to. They don't have anything else. And now no one, it's going to be media day after week 1, and Trevor Lawrence will be up there, and there'll be nobody around. They're going to be over in the tight end room asking Tim Tebow how it was to get called for a chop block because he wasn't fast enough to keep up and make the play. He's making the team.
The only way that Tim Tebow makes this, which I don't even know if Tim Tebow's even eligible for the practice squad. So how many times do you see this in the NFL? It's week 4 of the preseason. And the Eagles, the Seahawks, the Colts, the 49ers go, we can't let this guy loose here. So they go, Tebow's got a bad back. We're going to IR him this year just to keep him around and on the team. They do that all. How many times do you see a rookie 5th rounder? He's just not ready to play. We can't put him on the practice squad because somebody's going to claim him. Knee injury flared up. He's out for the year. So he gets bigger, stronger, and faster for camp next year. But we could talk all day on Tim Tebow. There's so many intricacies here. But the fact that we like to have a good laugh at the national media who comes up with these ridiculous concepts of he's going to Urban Meyer could be done day 1 because Tim Tebow's part of the 90-man roster. They don't care. They care about their paycheck cashing every Tuesday. You kidding me? Yeah. Let's move it on to Jalen Hurts here. Reason why I bring up Jalen Hurts, and I think it's a decent topic, because most NFL quarterbacks are divas that are already entrenched as starters. So they always like to call, first day of practice, all right, ones, get out there in the huddle. So, the starting quarterback goes out, starting wide receivers, running back, they all go out. But the Eagles refusing, and I don't like this because it's always very sophomoric. Everybody competes for a job. We're going to go out and work. So Jalen Hurts saying the right things with the Eagles. I don't mind it. When the rent's due, I'm going to pay it each and every day. It's just what I have to do. Trust me on this. Jalen Hurts is at home with his agent, with his friends, with guys around the team. Why won't coach just call you the starter so we can just get this over with and get it doesn't change your mindset as Jalen Hurts is now I'm the starter. I can relax because I'm an NFL ready quarterback after 4 games, which I didn't play all that well in as is. It's just funny to me that the NFL still has those Harry High School, hey, everybody's competing for a job. And they're really not, Kyle. They're really
not. And I'll tell you why Jalen Hurts doesn't care all that much, because he looks at the guy behind him and he goes, oh yeah, it's Joe Flacco. It's Joe Flacco. So, of course I don't care. If I just wake up out of bed, brush my teeth properly, and make it to practice, I have just been a better NFL quarterback than Joe Flacco. Congratulations, Jalen Hurts. So no, he doesn't give a damn. It's Joe Flacco. Now I will say this: the young kid they drafted out of Wake, Jamie Newman. If I'm an Eagles fan, I'm actually happy the coach said this, because that just leaves that little bit of door open, because I think Jamie Newman right now is better than Jalen Hurts.
Oh, come on.
I don't think Jalen Hurts is an NFL quarterback. I really don't. You just kind of watch how he plays. How is this guy? He kind of reminds me of Cordell Stewart in a way.
You have to temper it, though. The Eagles were maybe the most undermanned offense in the history of the NFL last year. And he didn't come in where he got to play week 1 and be the starter when at least there was a semblance of a team. He came in when they were down their 13th offensive lineman and gas station workers at wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I don't know. I just didn't see anything man, this guy's he's very athletic. He's going to be able to run, but look, the only reason this guy's not worried is it's Joe Flacco. If they had, let's say Jimmy Garoppolo, probably mid-level quarterback, decent record in the Niners, always gets hurt. If it was Jimmy Garoppolo, he'd be a lot more nervous. If it was a guy even Jared Goff, I think would push him for a starting job. I don't know. Joe Flacco doesn't bring a lot of nervousness. I think his buddies are looking at dude, he's saying that, but Joe Flacco is your like. I can't emphasize enough how bad Joe Flacco is, and he's your backup.
You know what the best part about it too is like if they're ever thinking like, hey, Flacco might get to start week 1. Like if you're the Jalen Hurts camp, you get an envelope that's unmarked and you send it with a VHS tape of the Miami Dolphins New York Jets game last year at the Dolphins, and you just say to head coach, don't worry about who it's from, pop this tape in and watch. I'm like, we can't have this guy as our quarterback here. And there's no way Joe Flacco's playing unless the whole quarterback goes down with injuries and he just has to throw some passes. But it can't happen here. Next topic on the list here, Julio Jones. Looks like maybe coming to an end in Atlanta. Obviously, as we know, the post-June 1 cuts, that's where it makes the most sense to move on from these players as the league year is scheduled with a lot of those breaks on how much that player is going to cost you post-June 1 designations. If Julio Jones leaves Atlanta, it's not a big deal for the Falcons. And I know he's an institution and he's their favorite player. It's really not, because are we winning over the next 5 years with Julio Jones? Probably not. If you can get a second-round pick for Julio Jones this year, and then the following year or two, you break in a new starting quarterback, that's really the way to go for me. But the reason why I wanted to bring this topic up, end of an era in Atlanta, yes, but can he help somewhere else on a ready-made championship team? Like, what happens if Green Bay comes to Aaron Rodgers and goes, hey, look, man, I know you're mad at us. What do you say I trade a second-round pick? I get you Julio Jones for this year. Will that make you come back or feel any better? Or how about this? Julio Jones picks up the phone and calls Aaron Rodgers. Aaron, look, man, get in camp. Like, they're telling me right now, my agent, the Green Bay Packers, they want me to come up there if I okay it. You playing with me or not? Aaron Rodgers goes, I'm in. Boom. So somebody like that could really help out. But him going to like I don't know. So, go to the Chargers. Like, I think he just needs to go to a perfect spot. And that would be somebody like Green Bay, where he would play with an all-world veteran quarterback where he could be happy.
I think that makes a ton of sense, and they need to do something, right? Because they already bombed on draft night, of course. They've bombed in free agency, of course. So really the only hole in your story is assuming that the front office of Green Bay is competent enough to do something like this. Now, look, I'm not the biggest Julio Jones guy. I used to be. He's a beast. He's an alien. We hadn't seen anything like him when he and Calvin Johnson, these guys, 6'4", 6'5", running 4.2 40s. It's awesome.
Yep.
But let's just be real. Julio Jones is never healthy. He's got to be one of these, teams bring these pass rushers that play,
But I'll say this one thing, because we say the same thing. He doesn't actually miss games pre-game all that much for an NFL player. But the simple fact that you never know if he's going to be there on Sunday. Go ahead.
Yeah, and if he's there for one play and makes one play on the sideline, you can almost count on him limping over to the sideline. Okay, we got him in for one play, 36 yards. We'll take it. That's what he has. He has to be a gun for hire, right? Like, okay, we're going to put you in for like 13 pass-only situations. We're not going to, because he's just so brittle. So he's just like one of those old pass rushers you bring in for, okay, we want you to go get 4 or 5 sacks. We're going to put you in on 3rd and 12. Yeah. Yes, Bruce Smith on Washington is a perfect example, and that's kind of what he has to be. I don't know who would give a second-round pick for him other than Green Bay, which I do think makes a ton of sense. Anything to make Aaron Rodgers happy so you're not starting Jordan bleeping Love next year is a win for the Packers. But I guess that's the only way it's a win, because you're not getting much. You're just getting an iffy Julio Jones every single play, every single week.
Yeah, Emza says, here's a homer comment, call Tom Brady. Can you imagine that? Like, Brady gets on the horn, they swing a second-round pick for Julio, and just have like a carnival. And for those people out there that still believe the NFL has a salary cap, it really doesn't. If your owner says, I have so much money to spend, I'll pay for anything, they usually do. So Julio Jones could probably be fit in. When teams go, like, remember the Rams, I think it was like the beginning of last year, they were like, $7 million over the cap, and they just sprinted out $450 million worth of contracts. Like, yeah, we're actually under the cap now. It's like, okay, the jig is up here in the NFL. Live wagering on the NFL, because the advent of all these new legalized options here, it's going to make it a lot more fun and profitable to get in. We have a great time on the Major League Baseball show, because you can actually think things through the same way you can in the NFL. Because it's not basketball where it's like, oh, 3-pointer down, let me get a bet in. Oh, wait, 3-pointer this way. Let me get, turnover this way. And you're locked out repeatedly till like it's basically a commercial break. The NFL, 40 seconds to a minute between plays a lot of times, a lot of flags going down. But the reason I bring this up is Amazon Prime. And if you don't know what's coming to town here, Thursday Night Football, which is not just some random Sunday game at 1 o'clock, like, oh, I can't bet this or watch this game because it's on such a delay. the Thursday Night Football game betting it live, where you might be a minute and a half to 2 minutes behind the action from what your sportsbook actually knows from being in the stands, this is going to be a major issue. And also, if you guys have not watched an Amazon Prime game, sure, you can get it. It might take you a couple minutes to log in. It will buffer. It will kick you out in the middle of the play. No idea why the NFL is doing this, but just from a live wagering purpose of you think you're getting that feed like 7 or 8 seconds behind when it's a minute and a half behind, Kyle.
Yeah, I have a unique perspective on this because, as you know, we did
That's why we brought this up.
A Monday Night Football show, and I had this pot splashed on me every minute of every game of every Monday Night Football. And that's why I drank a lot. And by the end of at least one game I can remember, I was definitely not coherent enough to do any live betting. But, it is tough. And here's the thing. You're going to be looking at this is what happens. This is exactly what happens. You're looking at your screen. And, after a few games, I just realized I was going to be behind. But the book doesn't match what's happening on the field. Nope. You're like, wait. What the hell just happened? You'll see the line flip. You'll know on your live betting spot before you'll actually see it on your screen. So it does make it tough. So what I started to do, just a little bit of advice for people on this, is I started to do the game-by-game track at NFL Network, and I would follow it there. And each play was actually a little bit faster, and that's what you got to do. You're just going to have to anticipate, get a little bit lucky, make your decision before the drive would start. I would do oftentimes. It's like, hey, I think this is going to happen on this drive because I know I'm not going to see it play by play. So it does make it more frustrating. Just kind of got to do it a little differently. You got to I start wagering before the drive. Like, okay, I think they should score a field goal on this drive from what I've seen, how they looked, and do it that way. Because the whole play-by-play thing, that's just not going to happen on Amazon Prime. I promise you that.
No, you're exactly right. Great set of topics here on a Friday. Time goes fast here. We are just about out of here, so we'll wrap things up. Getting it underway for the NFL each and every week. As you guys know, we'll bring you the hottest topics out here just for some fun in the offseason, because even though we are still a few weeks away, obviously, from training camp, a lot more to discover over the summer, so stick with sportsbookreview.com for all your NFL news. If you have any questions, want to be a better NFL gambler, there's a link below, sbrpicks.com/NFL, to be that better in the NFL. I'm Donnie RightSide Kyle Purviance. Thank you for tuning in today's Friday edition of the NFL show right here on sportsbookreview.com.